Welcome in, everybody. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and we are your hosts, Bull and Timmy G. I hope that everyone's doing well, man. This is a big-time rivalry week, and it just don't feel like it, Timmy G, man.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't really heard or seen anybody talking too much trash, but at the same time, man, I've been staying off of social media after that loss last weekend. We ain't going to talk too much about that, but it just don't feel the same. Like usually, I mean, people are talking a whole lot. Now, I will also kind of go back to last season when Tennessee lost to Florida. I know after the fact, there was a ton of Florida fans talking all that trash, and I have not forgot about y'all. All right, so hopefully some of y'all will be joining us today. But how you feeling about the game and all that stuff coming up, Timmy G?
Man, I'm in the same spot you are this week. Let me tell you something. Sunday and Monday, I didn't turn on social media. Like I did, my normal habits were thrown off because I was just trying to avoid it. Look, it sucked, but it's just time to move on and see what happens. Hope the guys make some good adjustments and get ready to go Saturday. Man, ought to be a big weekend. Going to be a lot of recruits in to see it, some pretty big names. So hopefully the guys go in there and show out.
Yeah, I mean, this is like do or die for both of these teams, man. Napier, I mean, I don't know if they would fire him if he loses this game. Maybe they'll wait some, but maybe they do. Maybe they're just kind of like looking for that reason to get him on up out the door. But I mean, obviously, for us as Tennessee fans, we need to win this so that we can keep our playoff hopes like living, you know what I'm saying, breathing, tangible. And this is just a game, man, that, again, I don't want to talk about it too much, but coming off of that Arkansas loss, that's a team that Tennessee had absolutely no business losing to. So whenever I, go through, all of us, like whenever we're going through all the stuff, watching the film, looking at the numbers, and just trying to analyze, who's going to be able to come out on top with this game, what's the matchups look like, really everything to me just kind of points towards Tennessee. But I felt the same way versus Arkansas. I felt like we should have blown them out, and we just didn't. So that human error, Timmy G, I think is very real. We don't know who's going to show up on Saturday for these Tennessee Vols, but if our real team shows up, then there's no reason that we can't win it. Now, at the same time, Florida, of course, is going to be the most talented team that we've seen so far this season. And I want to say maybe this time last week, maybe it was in the like pregame show, postgame show, whatever, I talked about Florida, and I said, man, look, I watched film on them. I had at least watched some. And I was like, Florida sucks. But that all came from me not watching enough film. And the reason that I said that was because I'm looking at their coverages. And there was some times where I couldn't figure out what the heck there was in. Like people was everywhere. And it just didn't make any logical sense. It wasn't fundamentally sound. But then as I watched more and more, I started to realize, okay, they're doing this again, and they're doing this on purpose. And it's actually working. So they've got some things that, outside of just the talent, but with their scheme on defense, I think that they've got some things that could definitely pose some challenges to our offense. But then also, man, with their offense versus our defense, plenty of things that I see with all the misdirection stuff that could end up getting Tennessee into a bind. So we got to come into this game locked and loaded. The fans got to get kneeling rocking. And, I think that if we do all of that, if we take care of business, we should come out on top. I want to check on this poll here real quick and see how everybody's feeling, because I always like to get that temperature check out there. If y'all are watching, please make sure to like and subscribe whenever you come in. But also do us a really big favor. Vote on this poll. Let us know, how are you feeling? And that's what the question is. How are we feeling? And we've got 70% for I'm a Vol fan and I'm confident. We've got 25% for I'm a Vol fan and I'm nervous. But the other options would be that I'm a Gator fan and I'm confident. And then the other one is I am a Gator fan and I'm nervous. So, it just kind of seems like most everybody who, at least who's voting, feels pretty confident, but some people are still nervous. I would say you could kind of put me in the maybe like cautiously optimistic category, Timmy G.
That's a good spot. That's where I'm at least. Cautiously optimistic. I think after a loss like that, I think that's going to light a fire under them, and we'll see what happens, man. But they put a lot of stuff on tape to go over and review and hopefully get fixed. So let's hope that was a teaching moment and they can make the most out of it.
Yeah, so you know what? We're going to try to touch on everything, like all of that stuff today, what Tennessee needs to do to have success in this game. If there's any Florida fans that do come in, we'll kind of touch on y'all's team as well, because I've watched a whole lot of film. I might not know the names that well, but I know the numbers pretty good. So we can kind of talk to all those points. Let's go ahead and get into the chat. Several people have started to chime in. So right here from Lofton, SR94 says, do you think Hype was trying to be conservative until Bama week, and that cost us? He has no reason not to go all out after a loss. I don't know. Maybe Timmy G, what do you think about that one, man?
I don't know. I think you covered it in an earlier video. I think a lot of the things he was doing was trying just being a little too conservative, trying to protect Nico. Is kind of what I think. I'm not sure, man. There were some things in that game that were absolutely head scratching at points, but I don't know. I don't think he was. I just think it was a perfect storm. It kind of is. It was a lot of things all at once. But yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of right there with you. I don't really know, but just because I've seen so many things out of this offense, even this season. And I tried to put some of that in the latest video that we just put out. Talking about Tennessee's offense. It seems like earlier in the season we opened things up more, and it worked out better for this offense. And now it kind of feels like we've gotten a lot tighter with our play calling. I don't know if that's because the offensive line is necessarily bad, or if we're trying to hide things, if it's a multitude of different things, if we're trying to like protect Nico. I don't know what it is. Either way, at this point, now that we have a loss, we got to win every single game. So There can't be any more of that. Like, we got to pull out everything. And I just feel like, whenever we do that, you know what I mean? Like, whenever we're playing loose and we're not trying to hide or we're not playing scared, this offense can still click at a really, really high cylinder. And I've watched so much film, y'all, on just different programs, different teams, and different situations. And what I saw from the Tennessee team earlier in this season, we can replicate that versus any level of competition. Maybe not, on that level, but we can still kind of do some of that same stuff. It's not always going to hit, but at least you have that threat there. What we've done here, getting a whole lot more conservative versus SEC competition, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what to make of it, and I don't want to speculate too much because I don't want to start rumors. But I mean, I've had a million different things. Like, if y'all name it, I'm sure that I probably thought of it. It's been going through my mind because it doesn't really make a whole lot of logical sense. The offensive line, I mean, hasn't been great, but I feel like it's gotten worse and worse. And we understand that John Campbell is kind of playing through some pain. We know that Lance Hurd is out of shape. I think most of those guys are out of shape. But at the same time, for them to be going kind of backwards at this point in the season, of course, we are going up against better competition. But it just seems like if there really was an issue with the offensive line, then you try to draw up some plays to work around that. And we're doing the exact opposite. Like, instead of doing a bunch of quick stuff, we're trying to throw the football down the field on 5 to 7 step drops. That takes a whole lot of time to get going. Why would we be doing that? Why are there no checkdowns? Why are there no hot routes? Like, several things. Why are we not trying to mix up our run game? So many different things that I have questions about, but I feel confident. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I said that in the earlier video. I feel very, very confident in this staff and in this team, the entire roster, that we're going to get it right this weekend. Now, some of that, of course, is just going to be me kind of being hopeful. It's also kind of going off of what I've seen from this team in the past. I know that they want to win. I know that they know how to win. But why haven't we been showing that over the past couple of games, Timmy G? That is my biggest question. And, that's what we got to get figured out. Let's get to right here. We've got some more people. GAHVAC says, go Vols. Right here from my dog UT Bad Gum says, go Big Orange. And he's also saying that got to see why my membership did not renew. It's all good, man. I'm sure that you will figure it out. So thank y'all so much for being members of this channel. If y'all would like to become members and get, that content where we are going to be breaking down film, you can just click on the join button just below. You can also donate to the channel as little as $1 by scanning the Cash App QR code. Right now, it's going to be in the top right-hand corner. So at this point, y'all, we're going to be waiting to see what happens with that status update to see who's going to be out. Timmy G, I'm thinking that it's probably going to be, again, man, I hate to speculate because I'm not claiming this, but I think it might end up being Brew, might end up being Squirrel. It sounds like Bryson Easton maybe could be probable, but we'll see who else is on that list. Have you heard anything outside of that, Timmy G?
No, nothing yet. I mean, I definitely wouldn't expect Squirrel to be coming back in. Not this game. From what I understand, he left the game in a sling, right? So
Mm,
that's not promising. I know. Last I heard about Brew was they were putting a cast on his hand. I mean,
mm.
we will see, but honestly, not to say that either one of those two guys won't be missed, but I feel like if we're going to start, if we're going to have to play with some people hurt, wide receiver might be one of the better spots to play with people hurt at this point. Um, Not to say like, look, Brew. I'm not sure that Brew's replaceable, and don't. I don't mean it like that because he's not. The guy he's a machine. But we've got some good guys at receiver they could put in there. You could see Mike Matthews. You could see Nimrod. You can see Webb. You could see Braylon
Staley?
Staley at slot for Squirrel. Nathan Leacock. There's a guy I would like to see. See how he's doing. There's a lot of options. The receivers doesn't worry me as much as other positions. Getting hurt. I feel like because just that I feel like if there's one room that we're the deepest at, that's the room we're deepest at. Outside of wide receiver and D line, I think those are the two rooms we're the deepest. You get outside of those rooms, you start getting nicked up. The drop off might be a little more dramatic, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think absolutely. There's a whole lot of people that look at us losing, possibly for these next however many games, some of our wideouts. And this is like, oh, well, the season's over. No, no, no. We got plenty of people. You know what I mean? And also any type of a skill position, especially on offense. I mean, I don't want to say that you can almost put anybody in there because that's not the case. We've got plenty of high caliber players. But my point is this. It's easier to put in another wide receiver if you've got a good offensive line and if you've got a quarterback that can make some things happen. And it hasn't looked that way for us over the past couple of weeks. But it hasn't been nearly as bad as people are trying to make it out to be either. Everyone's kind of talking about Lance Hurd. Yeah, there's a couple of clips that's floating around everywhere that he looks bad in, but there's a lot of other clips that I've gone through, and it's like, oh man, he actually looks pretty solid doing this stuff. So I think that we will be fine. We just had a really bad game, last week versus Arkansas. So let's go ahead and pull up some of these stats right here for Florida, just because, and hopefully y'all can see this, but I do kind of want to talk about some of their key players. Obviously, man, they're going to run both of their quarterbacks. It's going to be Lagway and it's going to be Mertz. And they're kind of similar in several ways. Really, it's the offensive scheme where everything is predicated to be quick. Now, they will be able to push the football down the field, and, they try that, but they're just, especially with Mertz, he's not as accurate down the field, and he's not as willing to throw the ball down the field. So you'll see maybe three guys going deep. One guy's going to be that dump-off player. If it looks anywhere near like it's covered up going deep, by the time that Mertz gets to that third step on that three-step drop, he's dumping it off. And that's been very, very consistent on film. So I think that Tennessee should be able to key in on that. We should be able to hopefully come up, make some good tackles, or maybe get some turnovers. That's what I'm hoping for in this game. He does not want to force the football down the field. Both of them can use their legs. I think that Lagway is going to be a little bit faster, but I mean, they're really about the same. Now, Lagway is listed at 6'3", like 250. So he's a big old dude. He's going to be a handful just to tackle. I think one of the crazier things too, Tim, is that whenever I'm looking at Lagway, he's listed at about the same size as Joshua Josephs is, but they carry it so different. Like,
Wow.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like Josephs looks long, and Lagway just looks big and bulky. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he's like a little bit chubby, and I don't know. We'll see. But either way, man, they've got two really good quarterbacks that can make things happen. Wide receivers that, they're pretty much interchangeable. They've got two guys that are, 6 feet and up. One guy that's about 5'10", almost, he's kind of close to like 6 feet. He's going to be more their like slot guy, but they'll rotate guys all the time. And I think all of them run really nice routes. They're all really quick. They have good hands, all that type of stuff. So I think that part will be a little bit more of a challenge. Florida's offensive line, they look good. You know what I mean? They've only given up 6 sacks this whole season. I think a whole lot of that is because Graham Mertz gets the football out of his hands quickly. But even on some of the, 5 to 7 step drops, they've done a pretty solid job. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup, I think, with Tennessee's defense versus Florida's offense. And then they've got, as far as rushing goes, I'm coming up to these numbers. They've got Montrell Johnson Jr., who's got most of their carries rushing. And, he's averaging 5 yards per carry. He does a pretty solid job. I think a lot of what they do in that running game, it's kind of like already there. You don't see him getting a whole lot of extra stuff. He's not really making people miss, that much. He's not running through tackles that often. So I just think that while they have the talent, I don't know. I don't see too much of an issue necessarily with our defense. But Timmy G, what do you think about it? Because it's going to be the exact same offensive scheme that we've seen over the past few seasons, and we've struggled with it. I think some of that might be, with our linebacker safety play. But what do you think about the matchup between Florida's offense and Tennessee's defense?
Well, I mean, here's the one thing. Going back to the Arkansas game, I will say I just truly feel the defense still played good, right? I mean, they held them to 3 points in the first half, wasn't it? I mean, defense came out and played good, and I think a lot of that was, they were. I think they were holding it back a little bit off the front. Obviously, misdirection got us a little bit off the front, and I saw some of the linebackers getting caught up in a little bit of stuff in the beginning of the game, but they cleaned it up. Even on some of those passes that they got on McCoy, he was in good coverage. It's just the guy put it in the spot, he put it in the perfect spot, and he had tight coverage on all that. I think it'll be interesting. I think we're going to play this game a little bit differently than we played the Arkansas game. I thought when we played the Arkansas game, we were so concerned about the QB getting out and using his legs that we weren't doing some things that I think maybe we'll see in this game. I think they'll approach it differently. I think maybe you need to have two approaches for this game because depending on which quarterback is in there, it depends on how the game's going to be played, right?
Right.
So, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not concerned about the defense at all. The only thing that I have any concerns about, really the offense, and that's just from that one game. So, hopefully they can get some things cleaned up, and it is in Neyland. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy rowdy. It's a night game. It is going to be, it's going to be wild. There's going to be some Tennessee fans fired up. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think that hopefully our crowd will. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying hopefully because I already know that we're going to show up and show out. But that's going to be, I think, a very major, part of this game for sure. Let's get to a few more of these chats right here from Fitty. He says, y'all roll up to Chattown to watch a game on some big screen sometime. Hey man, I would absolutely love to.
Used to live in Chattown actually. But yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was there for 9 months to a year. That was back in my earlier days. I did hazardous waste work, and Chattown has a big rail yard spur down there, and they like to spill things. So I was busy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I haven't been up to Tennessee, man. I haven't been to Tennessee in way too long. So I am overdue. Right here from Rodo 22 says, remember that Hyatt blew up after we had injuries could be an opportunity. Absolutely, man. Look, it's got to be a next man up mindset. That's something else that I had touched on earlier today, is that if players aren't playing up to our standard, we've got to have other guys that are ready to daggum go. We're going to talk about the offense here in just a second. Real quick, I just want for y'all to know somebody that I do want to touch on is Jesse Perry. We've heard some great things about him. You know what I mean? Can he step up and maybe spell some of these players, at some point on that offensive line? Also, right here from Unsung, we know the numbers don't matter much in this matchup. Absolutely. Florida will play their best game against us. Halsley better have some plays dialed up that gives us a chance. I think so. Some people have been asking too, is Halsley calling the plays or is it Heupel? To me, it looks like Heupel is doing a whole lot of talking. You always see this, his play sheet is up over his mouth. He's talking to somebody. He could just be talking to Nico, but I think that he's the main one that is calling plays, and Halsley probably has some sort of input. There's also kind of been that question, how much do we miss Alex Golesh? I would say it feels like we miss him significantly. The play calling looked different with Alex Golesh. I cannot deny that. But Timmy G, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, We might. I mean, I think the more games go on the season, that question is going to be answered, right? How much are we missing him? It's hard to say right now with some of the things we've seen going on because it's not all play calling, right? I mean, we saw some of the things with the offensive line and Nico not checking all his reads and not checking all the guys and there's a lot. Like I say, man, it wasn't just one problem; it was a lot of problems. So I think as the season goes on, we'll know a lot more once we've got a little bit more material to see. And obviously, we're in SEC play now, so every opponent is a worthy opponent. There's very few unworthy opponents. Ask Alabama.
Yep.
Like that was wild, bro.
You know what? Yeah, no, I was gonna say I don't know. Did Alabama ever even lead in that game?
I don't believe so. No, I would. Man, like I saw the Alabama Vanderbilt. I didn't give it a thought, and then all of a sudden I turn on my TV and I see the score was like Vanderbilt 14, Alabama 3. I was like, what is this, man? And then I started watching, and then I'd flip over and I watch another game for just a minute, but it didn't matter. Every time Alabama scored, Vandy was just like, no. And they just come right back. And they had them outnumbered in their own stadium. It was wild. One of the guys that one of my vendors that I have to deal with is a huge Alabama fan. Always talks trash, all this stuff. I walk in there today to check on something. I'm like, hey man, so has anything happened since we last spoke? And he's just like, oh, that dude, you should have seen the amount of cope he was going through. He's like, I don't know what you mean. And I'm like, you don't remember something this last weekend with Vanderbilt? What Arkansas? I said, listen, bro, Arkansas ain't Vandy, and we wasn't number one, and we didn't that's just wild. I don't care what you say. Like, there's nothing that they're going to live with that for forever.
Yeah, no, I mean
about Arkansas next week, but if that Vandy thing, they ain't ever going to forget.
Man, it's crazy because I think Vandy's pretty good, but is that the first time that's ever happened? That the number one team,
an unranked team, is being number one?
Once they first became number one.
It's the first time Vandy's ever beat a number one team for sure.
Yeah,
that much I know. Maybe I don't know. Somebody else has probably done it in all the football that's been played. But I mean, that was just absolutely wild.
That was bad. Yeah, that was bad. Like that's the only thing that just kind of kept us losing last weekend a little bit more manageable. I mean, really not so much, but at the same time, it would have been even worse if Bama hadn't lost any games. You know what I mean? Then
100%. No, you're right, because that was the only thing that did take some of the sting off. Because so Georgia's got a loss, Alabama's got a loss, we've got a loss, Missouri got freaking splattered.
They got whacked.
They got splattered by A&M. Dude, I when I went to bed, I thought, oh, Miami's going to lose too, right? Because I went to bed. That game didn't come on until 9:30. And it was about 10:30 your time. I'm Central, so it was 9:30 for me. And I was like, good Lord. And Cal was up. I thought, well, everybody's got a loss, so it's not the end of the world. Like it took a little bit of the sting off. It still didn't feel good, but it took a little bit. The only one in the top 10 who all is left undefeated. The only one that I can think of in the SEC is Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So. And do we really think Texas is going to make it all season without taking a loss? I don't know about that either. So
I don't know. I think that the best chance that they probably have to lose, before they get to the playoffs would probably be this weekend versus OU, just because I have no idea why. I mean, obviously those two teams hate each other. You never know what's going to happen. And just like Tennessee playing up against Florida, but that's the one that I'm watching, and I hope that Oklahoma can win it.
No, you're right. That is Alabama Auburn. There's some voodoo magic that even if OU doesn't necessarily have the better team, like they can still. It's just one of those games. Wild things happen in those games, man. It'll be interesting. Not only that, Texas has to play Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that Texas will end up handling Georgia. I still think, same thing that I said about Georgia, I said about Bama. Now I can say it about Tennessee too. After last weekend, they've got issues. for Texas, the only real issue would be if you can kind of if you have a beat on their scheme, which Oklahoma definitely has. So if you got that beat on it, then I think that you can beat them. But just to be able to match up with them physically, I don't know if there's too many teams that could do that. I don't know if there's too many teams that could stop that offense. And then their defense is lights out. It's really, really good. It's really good. Let me get to this one right here from Let's Go Guy says, I think we need more offense. Line needs to get work on. If we don't see no improvement, we might see Nico hurt or something like that. Yeah, so I mean, absolutely. The offensive line has got to get a lot better. But some of that, too, is with our scheme. If you know that your offensive line is struggling to kind of hold their blocks, just run some quicker stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that complicated, right?
Well, what happened to 12 personnel, right?
Exactly.
What happened to
12 last week?
Why didn't okay, so this guy's having a problem, this guy's having a problem. Why didn't we bring in 12 personnel and run that, and just run it down the throat? There was so many things in that. In the end, I mean, my true feeling about that loss is we lost because we got out coached. That's just it. We got out coached. Sure, there was a lot of problems, but there were things that we could have done to fix or alleviate those things, and I just didn't see it happening. But hopefully, wake up call. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all that we can hope for. But you know what? Actually, let's go ahead and start to kind of talk about Tennessee's offense, because we kind of touched on it here. And let me go ahead and pull this up for y'all real quick. Just kind of get these numbers up for you to look at while we're talking. But yeah, whenever I look at Florida's defense, and I've talked about this all week, they've got a really strong, I think, run-stopping line. And it's not going to be that easy to run right at it. Now, whenever I said that, it's not to say that Tennessee can't do it and find some success. We just won't be as successful trying to do that. We've got to, find some more wrinkles in our running game. We've got to find some more wrinkles in our offense, period. And I had actually brought this up after that Oklahoma game. I was like, okay, I can understand it. We just wanted to kind of get on up out of there. But now we saw it again versus Arkansas. So it's becoming a little bit of a concern. We got to open things up. And, I think that we can start by doing some different things within our running game. Don't just run it right up the middle. Run it to the outside zone with some outside zone. I think that we do a pretty good job of running counters, of running, of pulling players, some of our offensive linemen and tackles, using them as some, lead blockers. But we also need to use Nico, man. We need to use his legs in the run game. I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand why they haven't been doing it as much. But coming off of a loss, I think that everything's got to be back on the table, open it up. Whatever we need to do to win, that's what we're going to do. Let's stop coming out and just trying to, scrape by. Let's win by multiple scores. That should be the mindset. Let's come out, let's dominate, and then let's get Nico off the field. That should be the mindset. That's how you keep him healthy. That's how you keep all of your other starters healthy, is by coming out, winning, dominating early, and getting them off the field and letting other people get their reps, have some fun, build some depth, all those types of things. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, Timmy G, from this offense, is what are the changes going to be? Is there anything that you would like to see maybe Tennessee do more of or less of with this offense?
Well, less of, that's easy. 3rd and 7 run plays. That's what I want to see less of, bro. Less of it. Who are you fooling on this shit? You ain't even fooling me. I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. Don't do that. Come on, man. Take a chance. Throw for the first down marker. If you want to do something to surprise somebody, then use Nico and his legs. Do something different, right? Let's just mix it up a little bit. You're not fooling anybody with this 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 run play stuff. Let's make a legitimate effort to get a first down here and throw the ball or try to do something. Outside of that, man, I'd really like to see him bring in 12 personnel and establish the run. Florida's defense has not been good against the run, right? I want to see D Samp and these guys come in here and run it down their throats, man, and then open it up in the passing game. That's what I want to see. Do that and make them stop us. And if they can't stop us, then just keep doing it. That's where I'm at with this. But man, I'd love to see us open it up and start throwing the ball all over the field and doing all that. But I think what we need to do is just come out and establish some confidence for Nico, right? Some quick plays, some good things, get his confidence up, get him settled into the game, and then go for it.
Yep, absolutely. I think that those are some very, very valid points. And it does look like the injury report, or whatever it's called, the status update, that is up. And that's not it right there. I'm about to pull that up for y'all here in just a minute. And we're going to kind of talk about that because obviously, man, that has some major implications on this football game. But I think that Tennessee should, as long as we come out and play our brand of football, like you said, Timmy G, whenever we do whatever we need to do, we should be fine. So right here, we will get to Florida players. You can see they've got a ton of people out. But let's come on down to Tennessee. So we already know that Jordan Thomas, he's been out. Edwin Spillman, he's out again. I don't know what the heck's going on with him. Ben Bolton, who is going to be a walk-on linebacker, more of a special teams guy. Excuse me, he's going to be doubtful. Dante Thornton is actually questionable. We're going to need for him to play. Now we've got Squirrel White. He's probable, which is great. Christian Harrison, I mean, for him to be even on this list, that's not good. He's probable. And then Brew is probable. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, Tim, how do you feel about looking at this right here, man? I don't really know what to say about it right now.
And what can you say about this? Because Heupel and his gamesmanship, right? And what he'll do, like probable. Like, I don't know that Squirrel's probable. Dante, I didn't really. I mean, we saw him pull up a little lame, look like a hammy or something, right, in the game. I didn't know he was going to be questionable. It didn't look like it was that big a thing during the game, but, man, you never know. I really wonder what's going on with Spillman, that he's been out this long. Like, what happened to the guy, man? I was hoping, he would – it's a shame that he's not in there getting reps. Brew's such a dog. It wouldn't surprise me. He's one of those guys I just feel like it's hard to keep off the field. As long as the cast isn't going to interfere with his catching, I bet he will play.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. So whenever you're playing at a skill position, especially like wide receiver, and you've got to cast, a guy like Brew, he's going to try to kind of tough through that. But for me, I'm like, I don't know if I want a wide receiver out there if he's got a cast on his hand, because it's going to be hard for him to, well, maybe not hard for him to block as much, but kind of. But see, Brew's strong enough that he only really needs one hand to hold on to somebody. But catching wise, that's tough because you got to trap that football. It will bounce off of that cast. Now, I'm sure that they will have a soft cast, but that doesn't make that much of a difference. At least it didn't back whenever I was playing. Maybe they've updated whatever they use for that these days. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of, this whole week, I kind of thought Brew would probably not be able to go. Squirrel probably wouldn't go. Seeing Dante, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. I feel like he did play. I feel like he went out, then he came back in. I think he did. He made that really big catch. Like whenever we're making that drive. So, I mean, hopefully he's going to be all right. Christian Harrison, that's a big one. I think that's a very big one because, oh, man, I think that Boo Carter's really good, but, I mean, we've been rotating these guys. How good is he going to be for a full however many minutes that he's going to be playing on defense, what is called a 60-minute game? And then who would be filling in for Christian Harrison if he can't go? That right there, I think that's something for us to try to keep a very, very close eye on because that could have some major implications. Now, let's kind of scroll on up. Let's see what the heck's going on with all of Florida's players. Man, like I always tell you, I don't really know these names. None of these names really stand out to me, so it could be some major names on here. If y'all are a Florida fan, please let us know down in the chat because if they don't put numbers next to this stuff, I really don't know. I don't see anybody that stands out that much. What I will say, let me see. It's probably a pretty even amount of guys on offense and defense. Nobody on offense right now. That wide receiver, TJ Abrams, he's not standing out. Who is this right here? This Jackson kid wide receiver is not standing out. Those running backs, they don't really stand out. Marcus Burke doesn't stand out. And really nobody that I'm looking at right here on defense or the offensive lineman. Maybe Barber. That name sounds a little bit familiar. Either way, it's a pretty solid amount of offense and defensive players. None of them really stand out to me, just like off of the first wham. But what I will say, y'all, is that Florida is very deep. Okay, they rotate a ton. They might rotate, especially whenever we're talking about defense, they might rotate their backers and their secondary players more than Tennessee does. And they rotate them a lot. So I think that they will be fine moving forward. It's probably not a whole lot for us to make a big fuss about, but hopefully we will be able to get all of our guys back. Let's go ahead and get back into this chat. Let's see what everybody's thinking, how everybody's feeling. Dirty Higgins, what's going on? Dirty Higgins says, if we don't get creative in our play calling, I will be very upset. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of an understatement, man. If we don't open things up, if we come out, if the offense is lackadaisical, I mean, just for me personally, right, I'm going to be very, very upset because there's just no reason for it, man. Like, we've got too many people that are getting paid too much money to figure stuff out and not to try to continue to do the same thing and expecting something different to happen. You got to switch things up. It is time for that to happen, and I fully expect that it will this weekend. Right here from Sam Hargrove. What's going on? Sam says, we have 2 injured tackles, and I'm not sure we are ready to play the backups. So this is interesting, Timmy G. I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about our backups at offensive tackle?
Well, I mean, we've seen them in already. Now, how are they going to be against some of the guys, on Florida's team? I don't know, but they've already seen some reps. We've seen Larry Johnson. I saw him make good plays, and I saw him make bad plays. Yep. Like, do I think they're ready? Man, it worries me a little. That was one thing that I found really mind-boggling from the Arkansas game. Like, when you saw some of the stuff we saw with Hurd. Like, if you're a coach and you saw that, like, why is he still in there, right? Like, why are you like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, 100%. Like, if you're only given that much effort, and I'm sure the dude is absolutely gassed. And look, it's a different life when you're a guy that size. Like, an ankle injury is not like an ankle injury for me and you. That man weighs 340 pounds.
Yeah.
It's like we can't relate. Like, it's a different world. And not only that, to say that too, when you carry 340 pounds around and all of a sudden you get out of shape, everything is difficult. Man, I've got so many questions. I'll talk to some of them when we get off here and ask you some stuff, but I want to get into them on here. But, man, I think Larry Johnson could hold up long enough in the right situations. But it really depends on, do you wind up in a situation where we have 2 out? Like, are you talking about Hurd, or are you talking about Hurd and Campbell? If you're talking about Hurd and Campbell, then yeah, that's probably going to be problematic, and that's you better be going to 12 personnel if you're doing that.
100%.
But just one guy, I'm not that concerned. It's just that next man up mentality, man. You've got to be ready to play, and guess. When one guy goes down, that's another guy's opportunity to come in and show you what he's made of. Hopefully somebody could step up and do that. But, that's the way I feel about that. As long as it's not 2, I'm not worried.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're now living in a world where we have to start to expect that, there's going to be some times when both of them aren't playing, just because both of them are, or at least, John Campbell, he is banged up. He's going to probably continue to be going through that for the rest of this season. And then Lance Hurd is going to take him a while. Like you just said, he's already a really big dude. It takes bigger people longer to get in shape. So, excuse me, one of my questions is, what the heck was he doing? You know what I mean? Like, whenever you have an injury like that, like whenever you're sitting out, you don't just sit out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to make sure that the staff and the team doctors and the trainers, they're going to make sure that you stay in shape. I don't feel like they did that with Lance Hurd for whatever reason. There's a lot of ways that you can actually still kind of, and really with the rehab and stuff, if you've got some sort of an ankle sprain, part of the rehab is going to be to like try to work it inside of, like a tub or, something like that, inside of the pool, right?
Don't throw them in a pool, man. That's what I'm saying. Put them in a pool and go swim, bro, because that's some of the best cardio you can get.
100%. Yeah. So that's the part that I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what was he just kind of sitting around? And I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know. I don't ever want to paint a picture of somebody when I don't know, especially whenever I'm not going to say that he didn't put that work in because, hey, he could have. And it's really, there's nothing like being out on the field and actually going through all those reps. If you spend too much time not doing that, you're going to get out of football shape. There's a difference. He's probably in very good, normal physical shape, but football shape is different. So either way, I was a little bit let down by that. And it might just be that maybe he was going through some pain. Maybe he's not out of shape like I'm saying, and some other people are saying that he is. That is speculation. I don't know how good a shape that he is in. I just know that how he played last weekend in some of those spurts, That's not who Lance Hurd is. He's a lot better player than that. He should be our best offensive lineman. And, he's kind of been that in some small little spurts so far, but he's got to bring that consistency. So just talking about if both of our tackles go down, just because that's kind of like how my mind goes, we need to be prepared for everything. If both of them go down, I like what Larry Johnson did last week, or not last week, but versus Oklahoma. But also it was some times, I think versus Kent State or maybe it was UT Chat that he was in. I didn't love that. Dane Davis, he looked good last weekend versus Arkansas. But before that, versus Oklahoma, he didn't look good. So, again, it's all about that consistency. We've got to find it up front. And really, man, more than anything else, y'all, what I would love to see is somebody on this team just be an absolute and total dog and lay into their teammates. Just, like whenever we start to lose, who's going to be that Al Wilson that comes up and say, hey, look, we are not about to lose this game. We are not about to lose. Y'all got to step it up.
That's rare nowadays, man.
Huh?
That is so rare nowadays. You just don't see that hardly ever anymore. Used to be that's the way it was, right? Like you knew that if things didn't go well, at least when I played, there was always one or two guys on the team. If things didn't go well, like you got in the locker room at halftime, it wasn't the coach you had to worry about. It was them. They were going to let you know, hey, you punk, they're going to tell you better step it up because this ain't good enough.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times you need to hear that. So, I just don't know how much that's a thing anymore. I mean, I hope it is. I want it to be.
It is. It is still. Okay. I mean, it's not how it used to be. But trust me when I tell you, that is still a thing. There's still people. And actually, I heard Jason Swain say this one time. It was probably several months ago, or it might have been last season, whatever. But you need somebody on the team that is going to give you some like physical incentive that, hey, look, you going to do this or we about to have it out. We need more of that. And one of the things that I don't necessarily, and I don't want to make this into a huge deal because people will take it and make it into a big deal. It's not that big of a deal, but Hypo doesn't like for his players to get into those physical altercations. I think that you need a team that will do a little bit of that as long as, it's in the right, like it's coming from the correct place. Because if not, then you have games like we just had last weekend. So we'll see. I mean, it does kind of sound like, I've heard some of the players say, look, we could tell, I've been watching practice, or obviously they're at practice. They're saying based off the way that we are practicing, this team don't like to lose. It's a different level of focus and all that good stuff, which sounds great. You know what I mean? That makes you feel better, right? But at the same time, the focus, that's how it should be every single week. You shouldn't have to lose to get to that point. You should be like that all the time. So that would be maybe my biggest concern with this team. We shouldn't be losing to teams like Arkansas. That just should not happen. We should have found a way to win that game, and we found almost every single way to just give it to them. But we are going to bounce back this week, and we're about to get to these chats, y'all. So sorry to keep y'all waiting. Right here from Let's Go Guys says, I think they are saving Nico for the for the running for Alabama and Georgia. I think they saving Nico running legs for those tough games. They might be doing that. Yeah, you know what? That could be true. And that's kind of like what I thought early on too. But I'm just hoping that that's not the case no more. Because if you're trying to save them for, like, if you're looking past teams, which is basically kind of what that would be, and then we end up losing to an Arkansas team that we should have beat, that's on the coaching staff. So I think I'm hoping, Timmy G, that move forward, it won't be no more of that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying just be stupid about it, but right. I like we've got to play ball. Like, we've got to let these kids ball out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I have a different outlook on that. Like, I think you should be using them. You should be using them. I'm not saying use them for just recklessly, but you should be putting that on film to give defenses something else to worry about. When you don't put that on film, they're not going to worry about that. And you might be saying, "Oh, well, we'll catch them off guard." Well, how are you going to be good at it if you don't do it? You can't be good at something if you don't do it. Like, all of a sudden we're going to decide to do it, and we're going to be wave the magic wand, we're going to be magically good at something. That ain't Tennessee. What are you talking about? Yep. Like, no, man, do it. Do it, and give every defensive coordinator a freaking heart attack when they have to try to prepare for this team. Because once you start doing that, and then you can open some things up, that gives them 1,000,001 things that they have to prepare for, and that's what we should do.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. At least. Yeah, no, listen, I am 100%. I'm on the exact same page. Like, put it on film, make them get ready for it. That's something that, like, I've actually learned coaching. And I'll try to like hide stuff, and then you just bring it out in that critical game. Well, for whatever reason, it never works whenever you do that. But it does work better whenever you've got a whole bunch of different things that you do well, which is something that this offense needs to get to. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Then all of a sudden, the defense can't really stop anything well, because they're trying to stop everything. But you have to pick and choose what you are going to stop and dedicate yourself to that. And you have to live with, this kind of like slowing down everything else. That's the best way to try to coach defense. And hopefully that's something that Heupel does understand. I know that obviously, man, Heupel is a genius whenever it comes to coaching football. Forgot more football than I'll, maybe ever know. So I don't mean to try to undermine him, but it just kind of, some of this stuff, it seems like, what the heck are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, hopefully coming out versus Florida, things will definitely get a whole lot better. Now let me see here. I've lost where I was at. So I've got some questions that I do want to bring up as well, but we're going to get to everyone else's first. So if y'all don't hit on my questions, then we are going to get to mine. Let me see. Okay, so I've got one right here. Okay, so look, so we've got a super chat right here from 10 Vol 1084 for $9.99. Thank you so much for that, sir, or ma'am. And they say that go Vols, love your in-depth analysis. Bull, how worried are you about DJ Lagway and his mobility, which seemed to give us issues with Arkansas? How worried are you from 1 to 10 for Saturday? So first and foremost, again, thank you for that. We've got to play the clip. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I lost it. Okay, here we go. Go play it. All right, thank you so much for that. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned about really either one of these quarterbacks necessarily breaking this game running. They'll do some things where if it's like a third down or, fourth down, whatever, they can kind of scramble for the first down, but they're not game breakers with their legs. Taylor Green, he was a game breaker with his legs. He could go for, 30, 40, or, however many yards with his legs. He's a lot faster than these guys are. They're more so looking to just, pick up that first down. Then they want to slide or kind of scamper out of bounds. So it's not necessarily, at least as far as what I've seen, it's not going to be the same. But just as far as the confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, right now, after all the film that I've watched, and I've watched every single game, the SEC games and the bigger games, I've watched more, but I've watched enough film. I'm at about, I'd say like an 8.5 on a scale of 1 to 10, that Tennessee is going to win this game. Just as far as us, coming out and maybe dominating, I'm not as confident with that. I think that Tennessee could win, and it could be close, especially if we come out and play how we did last weekend. But if we come out and play how we're capable of, Tennessee will blow this game open. Okay, Tennessee will blow Florida out. So thank you so much for that question. And Timmy G, what do you think about all that, man? Like, what's your confidence level, and what do you think about these quarterbacks just using their legs versus Tennessee? Because we have kind of struggled with that, over these past couple of seasons.
Past couple seasons, yeah. Honestly, I think I have a different outlook on the Arkansas game, obviously, because I don't think Taylor really did hurt us with his legs, did he?
He did.
He scrambled around in the pocket a lot, running from James Pierce, and pulled a juke or two. But I think, honestly, something that I believe, and I'm not going to say it hurt us because we held them to 3 points, but I think we were prepared for that, and it changed the way we played the game in the first half. Yeah. I think maybe if we wouldn't have, been so it was good to prepare for it and be ready for it, but I don't think we should make a thing about it until it's a thing, right? Yeah. Like, have a game plan in place, be ready, but I don't think we should change anything. I think we should just go out there and play our game, and then if that's up, then the guys know what to do. Put a spy on them and try to keep them in check.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was perfectly said. That's kind of what I was trying to say. I didn't do a good job of kind of getting that out. But with this game, the legs of the quarterbacks is not going to be that much of an emphasis as it was last weekend. And I think that we did kind of learn from that, right? Which we did a great job of stopping Taylor from running. But now I think that we can be a little bit more true to rushing those passers and getting after them. Now, we're always going to have to try to just be fundamentally sound, but I think that actually bodes a lot better for Tennessee. My bigger concern is going to be with our linebackers in coverage, and all that type of stuff. That is a much bigger concern just for me personally. But right here we do have another super chat coming from 10 Vols 1084 for $19.99, and they just say go Vols. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. That is awesome. So we are going to get to some more of these chats here, y'all, because I do see some that I have been trying to get to. I don't want to lose you. Give me just a second and we will get to them. But yeah, I think that maybe, man, the linebackers, I think that's a bigger question mark for me. So right here from Mike Harmon, what's going on, Mike? Says that I believe that we regroup and play lights out. Feel sorry for the Gators. Not go big orange. Yes, sir. Yeah, hey, look, absolutely love to hear that because, like I said earlier, just to start this thing off, I didn't forget how they acted at the last year's win. And it's funny because anytime Tennessee is lost, people will like start coming out to talk after the fact. And look, if y'all want to talk, that's fine, but talk before the game, then talk after. It's just something about whenever you were probably scared pregame, so you don't say nothing, then you want to come back after the fact and act like a 2-year-old child. That kind of makes me angry. Right here from Sam Hargrove, he's asking about Bryson Easton. So we did take a look at the status report. I'm gonna pull that back up for you just in case you did miss it. But Bryson Easton is not on here. Okay, let me go ahead and get that out.
Good news.
Bryson Easton's not on here. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that is really, really big. There's been a whole lot of speculation, a whole lot of rumors. So we don't know what's what, y'all. And I mean, even still, we already know, like Timmy G said, with Coach Hype, it could be one thing right now. We don't know what it's going to be whenever, kickoff starts. But I think, I feel confident. I think that we are going to be okay. Players might be a little bit banged up. He said that it's not going to be like a season-ending injury for anybody. So that's definitely great to know. Right here from Let's Go Guy says Mike Matthews has lots of speed like Jalen Hyatt. He has great speed. He catches well with gas and more. So I think Mike Matthews will be a great wide receiver as a starter. I think so too. And, this is his opportunity. Like we had talked about it earlier, right? Because Jalen Hyatt, he came in after somebody went down. This could be Mike Matthews' time. He might get on the field and it could be somebody else. You get on the field, you do your thing, and now it's hard to keep you off. But hopefully, if nothing else, it'll keep in the back of the coach's minds. Hey, look, we got to rotate these guys in because we have plenty of them, and there's no need to just have all this stuff, rusting on the shelf, getting cobwebs and stuff like that. So we will see, man. But I think that Mike Matthews, I think that especially in one of these games, right, because him coming from Parkview, that's kind of close to my area, but I know he is a dog. I promise you that he's going to step up when it counts. Right here from Hunter, my BBS is flaring up for this game. Yeah. Hey, listen, brother, I understand how you're feeling because I'm not going to lie to you. Mine started to tick up just a taste after what happened versus Arkansas, but we're going to be fine. We just got to come out and play our game. That's the thing that I can't tell you. As much film as we all watch, as much everything that we do to get an understanding about these matchups, the human error, what teams are going to show up. I can't, I'm not a psychic, so I don't know. But I do feel like Tennessee, coming off of that loss, is going to be ready. I think that they are, they're back locked in. Whenever this team has that eye, whenever they're playing like that, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat them. But they have to prove it to me. You know what I mean? They have to prove it to all of us. So we will see. Hold on. I got to put that down first. Let me try to read it first because UT Bad Gumps. Let me see. Okay. So he's asking a question. You know what, brother? Do me a favor. If you could just email me and I'll help to walk you through all that. All right. So just send me an email and I'm gonna put it down at the bottom of this video here in just a minute. So Unsung is saying, do you think we will work the middle of the field more in this game? So Timmy G, do you want to take a crack at that one? What do you think about Tennessee trying to operate in the middle of the field?
If it's I'm going to give you a dumb answer, but if it's there, right? You have to take what's presented to you. And if the middle of the field is open, work the hell out of it. That's what I'm going to say. But I mean, yeah. Uh, I think on something that could probably help us on that is something you touched on in one of your earlier videos, talking about, using the run game, on like some sweeps and not just running right off guard and tackle, right? Not just running right up the middle every single play. Start burning them on the edges, and if you start doing that, and those linebackers start moving over, then maybe that's going to open up the middle, and then take your shots where you can get them. Would I love to see him open up the middle? Sure. I'd also like to see him hit a damn bomb. That's what I see him do. There's so much I want to see this offense do. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's there, take it, man. And I think they just need to figure out one thing and get it going and get the offense in rhythm, no matter what it is. Whether it's running the ball, whether it's some screens. Hell, I'd love to see us use Dylan out of the backfield with screens and some passes, man. There's so many things that they can do. They just need to do it. I'd like to see them just open it up, period. Like, pick something and make it happen. I think they're good enough that if they wanted to pick almost anything, they could probably make it happen. But I'd love to see him do that. I'd love to see him open up the middle.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll say it this way: I'm basically everything that I'm on the exact same page as Timmy G is. But what I was gonna say is that whenever you look at how teams like to play us and what Florida's tendencies are, I think that whenever the field is spread out, we'll see a little bit more cover 4, so quarters coverage. With that, the middle of the field is open on those digs, on those skinny posts, which is why Tennessee has tried to throw that so much. The issue is we haven't given Nico enough time to get to those throws because it takes longer, especially with those digs. So I would say that Tennessee's going to try to hit that. And if we hit the middle, maybe early on, if it was me, I would prefer for us to run some slants or some quicker stuff to the middle, maybe some seam routes, some little things like that, just to work the middle that way. But it's quicker, and it's something that we could kind of, that's more feasible with an offensive line that we don't know what we're going to get. Now, look, the offensive line could come out, play lights out. If that happens, this game is going to be a total blowout, okay? Tennessee is going to win very, very big. So I think that that's the biggest key. But at the same time, the defense is going to have to step up and do what they have been doing consistently throughout the entire season on the other side of them. Because I kind of said that last week versus Arkansas, that if we can stop Taylor Green, then we're going to win. But I didn't think that the offense was not going to be able to put up points. So, you know what I mean? Everything has to work hand in hand.
Yeah, that was the plot twist. We didn't think the offense was going to put up, what was it, 14 points?
14 points. This is terrible.
14 points. Like, who saw that coming? I know we didn't. No. So, no, man. No, I agree, though. Like, just open it up and make some things happen.
Yep. All right, so we're going to keep on going through all of these chats right here from Let's Go Guy says, I think Lance Hurd was still hurt or was still in pain during the game, but he is strong, tough, and pushed through the game without another injury. Yeah, so I think that that's big that he was, that he at least kind of showed up and he did play. So that's something, I think that's actually a very excellent point because not too many people are talking about that, but you got to give these guys credit for going out there because I'm telling you, it's not as easy as obviously some of us think that it might be. It's difficult, especially up front. That's a lot of pain that they're trying to deal with. And you're having to, push off all the time. You can barely breathe, all that type of stuff. And
dude, that's giants fighting giants. Yeah. Like that's not something any of us can relate to.
Yeah, right. I've never played up front, so I have no idea what that is like.
I have, oddly enough. Not that it ever fit my frame, and it was always head scratching. But I did for whatever reason. But like that is literally in a wrestling match. You're literally in a wrestling match with somebody else that is at those guys. That's different, man. Those are big grown men slinging some big heavy arms at you, and it is literally they're in a fight every single play. Yep. Like that's what it is. And those guys, they got guys coming from. And it's not just one guy sometimes. Like they got their guy that they're on, and then here comes a long linebacker, and they got to try to it's wild, man. Look, I do not pretend to be on the caliber of any athlete that is on the Tennessee football team. That is not me. That I was never that.
Mhm.
And what these guys go through in the stuff they do, I'm in awe of, and love them all for giving their all for the ball. So
100%.
yeah.
100%. So hopefully, things will get better for all of our guys, because I know that we're all rooting for them. We want to see them do their absolute best. And yeah, I can speak personally. I get frustrated whenever I don't see them playing up to their best. Oh man. So I've got the New Mexico State Jackson State game on, and somebody is getting carted off, man. So prayers out to him. Monty Watkins. So he looks like, yeah, they're putting him inside of the ambulance right now. They got him strapped down. So prayers to him and prayers to his family. Look, football is a very physical game. Injuries are going to happen. Like it's not a question. Injuries happen. And you got to really tip your cap to these players because they go through so much. I don't talk about that too much on this channel, but I do. I feel like this is a good time just to say it. I I'm so proud of all these guys for going out there, putting in the work on and off the field, staying out of trouble. And we just want to win. Sometimes as fans, I think that we can kind of like lose sight that these are still human beings. But hopefully, man, we can get everything kind of corrected moving forward. Let me get to this one right here from Lofton SR94. It says, would you put the off or I'm sorry, would you bet the offense has more receiving touchdowns or defense forces more turnovers versus Florida? That's I think receiving touchdowns versus turnovers versus Florida. If it's me, I'm going to go with receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
Florida doesn't turn the football over that much, especially passing wise. Mertz is not gonna. He just ain't gonna do it. They fumble the football more than anything else. I can see us getting some fumbles, but I also feel like, and I've said this for the past couple of weeks, but I'm not even gonna say it this week. Hopefully, that'll help us. But I think that we'll score some more rushing touchdowns. Or I'm sorry, some more passing touchdowns in this game. But Timmy G, what do you think about it?
No, I'm 100%. You nailed it. Florida doesn't turn the ball over that much, so yeah, and that we get more receiving touchdowns. That would obviously work out better for us. Yeah, I just don't think Florida turns the ball over that much. Would I love to see us get just go out there and blast them defensively and take over? Yeah, I would. Like, look, I would be happy either way in that situation.
Yeah.
But no, I think receiving touchdowns. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get to this one right here from Dirty Higgins. What's going on? Dirty Higgins says, did you notice that after Nico ran out of bounds, Coop came and took a knee with him when he was when he was at his lowest moment, and then escorted him through the crowd back to our sideline? Coop is a real one. Listen, that is an excellent point. I actually didn't notice that, but yeah, Coop is one of my favorite Vols of all time. I love Cooper Mays. I mean, to me, whenever I think of a Tennessee Vol football player, he's exactly what that is, just from top to bottom. He gives his all the time. And I mean, you can tell that he's tough.
He's a
gritty.
leader.
Huh?
He's a leader.
He's 100%. And you know what, Timmy G, I was just about to say, if there's anybody that maybe would have gave that speech to kind of go off on people, he would probably be the first person that I would probably think of that would do that.
I don't think that's Coop's mentality.
Yeah.
I think if he wanted to, like, that would be like he could. I think he's got that kind of, he's looked up to that much on the team. I think everybody respects Coop. And I knew his dad. His dad was a super good dude. Very humble for being the kind of athlete that he was. That's a family that literally breeds NFL linemen.
Yes.
Like, it's just that's just the truth. You've got Cade in the NFL. You've got Coop, who's definitely headed that way, and will probably have a very long career in the NFL. And I don't know how old Camp is, but I'm wondering when they're going to give him an offer. That kid is huge. That's their little brother. If you don't know Camp Mays, he is an absolute unit for a young man. Coop's a great dude, man. He's a leader. If you look back at why we lost the Florida game last year, I say it was because we didn't have Coop. We didn't have that leadership. And no, you're right. Him going over there and doing that just shows what kind of a person he is and trying to lift up his teammates. That's amazing. And I love to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the next one right here from Let's Go Guy. says, I think Lance Hurd. I'm sorry. I think Lance Hurd was still in Oak during the Arkansas game, but he is strong and tough, and he pushed through his injury without another injury. Did I already read this one? I'm hoping and praying he will be 100% to be healthy. Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully he will be 100%. I mean, we need all of our guys at 100%, especially up front. Also from Let's Go Guys says, but the last 3 games we had a high number with 70 points, and for Oklahoma and Arkansas, it's a low number. You can see different to the points of the game and the offense. Yeah, so I think that some of that too could be because, playing up against some better defenses, you know what I mean? Playing up against some better competition. But really, as crazy as this sounds, I mean, like the offensive play calling was also very different. Now, is that because the competition was better? I don't think so, because you can still run slants and hitches and speed outs. You can run that versus anybody. Like that's just there. You know what I'm saying? And we just did not run that as much, especially versus Arkansas. So I would love to see us open some of that stuff back up. Let's get right here to Devontae Bond says Josh needs to let go with Josh needs to let Nico go win the games because we're not looking too good. I'm a Vol fan for life, but I see 9-3. I understand what you're saying right there. Yeah, I think that if we don't open things up, 9-3, that sounds about right, because we're gonna have to, like the main reason that I came into this season saying that Tennessee can run the tables was because of Nico. I felt like, hey, we're gonna open the entire playbook back up for Nico. And for this offense, and it's gonna be almost impossible to stop with all these vets coming back on both fronts. We knew that the defense was going to be really, really good, but the offense is just taking a major step back over the past couple of weeks. If we can get it right, okay, we can start to get it right, which I think that it's going to take. I think it's going to take a little bit, maybe not drastic, but it's going to take some. It's going to take some changes. Like it's going to take some real changes, because offenses, like whenever offenses kind of start off sputtering some, and like they don't just kind of turn into really good offenses that quick. Things need to change. But the good news is we've got the talent and we've got the coaching staff that can make some pretty significant size changes, and we won't miss a beat. But Timmy G, what do you think about that, man? I know we've kind of talked about it some, but do you think that this is more of a 9-3 team, or how are you feeling about our overall record at this point?
I'm not ready to say, man. I'm not ready to say on that yet. But I'll tell you what it's going to be after this game. It could be, but look, man, Vandy just went out and beat the living. I mean, they beat up on Alabama. Like
they did.
It all depends on what team shows up, and when I mean that, like let's talk about Georgia, the Georgia-Alabama game. We saw 2 different Alabamas in that game, and we saw 2 different Georgias in that game. Which team is showing up on Saturday? We've seen Tennessee show you multiple looks this season. You had the Arkansas game, and we've had these other games which were against lesser talent, but still showed up and played totally different. So who are you getting on any given day? But I've always said this: I think you learn more from losses than you do from wins. And when you take a loss like that, it really lights a fire under the team. And let's see how they react. Let's see how they come out and they play Saturday. And then you know what? Then I'm going to take it one game at a time from there. Yep. And then we'll see how they do when they come out and play Alabama, because it's college football, man. That's why we all tune in. You never know what you're going to see.
Never know.
Once again, who there was it like P talked about that one guy that said Vandy was going to beat Bama, and we were all laughing about it and like, there's crazy, no way. Right? What is this dude crazy? And look what happened. Like it's just, you never know.
Every single week, man.
You never know. You just, because look, what we're talking about here, man, we're talking about literal kids that are going out and playing this game. They look like grown men? Are they giants? Yeah, some of them are. But they're still kids. They still have their mentality. Like, I was an absolute idiot when I was 18, 20. I'll tell you right now. I was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That's just the way it was, man. But it's a game that's being played by kids, and man, emotions play into it. All these things. Like, it's a different world. It's absolutely wild out there. But I'm going to take it game by game. I'm going to see what happens. I have faith in Tennessee to win this one. look, I get it. It's Florida, and we know that Florida voodoo. But I
Right.
don't know, man. I think Florida would have had a lot better chance to beat us if we would have beat Arkansas rather than us losing to Arkansas. That's where
Yeah.
I feel about that. I think these
Yeah.
guys are going to be fired up and focused, and I think it's going to get wild in Neyland on a Saturday night. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. See, I feel the total opposite. I feel like if Tennessee would have been undefeated, then Florida would come into this game with less confidence. But now that we lost to an Arkansas team, that I mean, Florida is more talented than Arkansas is. I think that they're going to come into this game with some confidence, and it's going to be up to Tennessee to take that confidence from Florida. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that this game is going to be easy. I don't know if playing up against Florida is necessarily ever going to be easy, but this is a game with so much on the line that, I mean, Tennessee's going to, I think, honestly speaking, Tennessee will probably have to play their best game up to this point to maybe come out with the win. You know what I mean? And honestly, too, I think that if Tennessee played how they played versus Arkansas versus OU, we would have lost. You know what I mean? Like, so it's going to have to be, like you said, Timmy G, two completely different teams. But we're going to have to get the good version of Tennessee to come out on top. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything right here. Okay, so right here from 10 Vols, 1084 says if Tennessee can't come out hard for this game, we are in deep trouble. 100%. 100%.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if we lose this one, I mean, really, just like for me, the season's pretty much over. You know what I mean? Obviously, you want to be bad.
Lose this one, my prediction's not going to be 9-3. I'll tell you
that.
that.
No way. No
like
way.
It's going to be way worse than that.
Yeah.
That would be optimistic.
Yeah, that would be extremely optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a must-win for both teams. Right here from Sam Hargrove says Georgia, Alabama, and others are constantly trying to negatively frame Tennessee. I think it is critical to see us get these young guys more involved. And he's talking about Mike Matthews 100%. And it's not just with Mike, it's with several other players. I think that we need to show a little bit more. I mean, really everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're doing a pretty solid job on defense of rotating guys in. But it's no secret that we've got some really good players coming in for 2025 and 2026. Teams ain't just going to let them be. They're going to keep on trying to, say some bad things about Tennessee. So we have to show a good product on the field every weekend. But I'll also say this. I don't think that if a team wins and loses necessarily, I don't think that is going to sway a player that much unless you're doing something that doesn't fit, that like how that player wants to play, right? If you're doing something that doesn't fit their skill set, or if you just look like you can't coach, which Tennessee does not look like they can't coach. So I think that we're going to be fine, but that's an excellent point. You never want to leave it to chance. Win whenever you can win. Win every single game. Win everything. You know what I'm saying? Take everything. Don't leave nothing for nobody else. That's the mindset that I feel like this entire organization, I think that they have it, but we got to start. Like it's got to be more every single week because we lost it. We had that lapse last weekend. But what do you think about that, Timmy G? Do you think that makes a big difference if Tennessee loses some of these games, especially with all the guys that are going to be able to come up on campus for the first time this season?
I don't know, man. I think used to winning. Don't get me wrong. Winning obviously means something, but is it everything? Here's what I'll say about that. Like we got when we played. We had the Georgia game. It was at home last year, right? We had a lot of big recruits that were in for that game, and they came in and watched that game, and it didn't seem to affect those kids at all. Why was that? Now, if let's say that might be a different outlook. If it's say Florida and Florida's not having a good year, yeah, maybe that's a little more cause for alarm. But like that Georgia game, I don't think it affected us in recruiting at all, because just like one of the kids said, well, yeah, if that's Georgia, they do that to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so, what's that show? But no, I do think it is important to get some of these young guys in when you're bringing these recruits in and letting them see them hit the field. I think that shows more than anything.
I do too.
I would definitely love them to see get Mike involved in the game a lot more, and maybe even Braylon. But man, it also depends on how you lose, right? I mean, there's so many things that play into this, and that's going to be on a kid by kid basis, right? I don't think you can
100%.
say that's every kid, but that's certain individuals, sure, maybe, but I don't know, man. It's a different world now, NIL, and we're talking about profit sharing and all this other
Yeah,
stuff. And
it's
man,
coming.
there's so many things that
Coming.
are getting ready to. I mean, the game's just changing year by year now, very rapidly. But it is winning everything. No, I don't think it's everything. It helps, but you know, uh, I once again, kid by kid is what I'll say
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me get on right here to Heath Moore saying, what are the odds Bruce, Squirrel, and Dante all play Saturday? I'd say very, 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 very low. If it was me, I would probably set the over-under at maybe 35%. I mean, and I would go under that all day long. I mean, maybe I have to set it lower, but yeah, I don't think that that's very likely. Um, it kind of sounded like Squirrel's deal was a little bit more serious. And we do have depth there. So you could probably sit Brew out. You could probably sit maybe all three of those guys out. Maybe not all three, but you could sit two of the three out and we would be fine. So, yeah, I would say that it's a very, very low likelihood. But what do you think, Timmy G?
I do not. I think it's a 0% chance we see all three of those.
Yeah.
And what freaks me out is Dante is the most question. He was the one listed questionable. Where
That's crazy, right?
that's what freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because Squirrel, I mean, if you watch the game, obviously it looked like Squirrel was the most hurt out of any of them. I mean, that he was not doing well on the field. Bruce just tougher than damn nails, man. I think that guy eats glass for fun. He's a bad man. But I don't think we'll see all three. But once again, like I said earlier in the show, man, I think you know, not to say that we were not going to miss these guys, but we've got a lot of other guys they could put in that I think can perform well enough to win ball games. So
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Let's get to the next one right here from Sam Hargrove says, heard a guy, I think from Auburn, talking about the Smith kid and saying, why do you want to go to Tennessee? You know that they won't play you. That's funny. Yeah. So, I mean, look, that's going to happen. I can promise that's going to happen every single day. They've got a million DMs with, from a million different fans saying the exact same stuff all the time. But I think that the biggest thing is the right players are going to come to your program.
Yeah.
That's really more like that's how I look at it. If it takes something small for the player to not come, then they probably was going to leave anyway. You know what I mean? It would have taken something small for them to transfer out, especially these days. But Travis Smith is a player that is locked in. I can just tell it's something that's very solid with him.
He's a player that is balling out right now.
My God,
absolutely destroying. Him and Joakim Dotson both are having
both of them look
incredible seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're really doing well. Let me tell you something. These guys hear some of the craziest crap you've ever heard. Like oh, don't do this, don't do that. But before it was all the NCAA stuff. Like, well, you can't use that against us now, so that's got to be something else. I'm sure all these Georgia kids that are going there. What do you want to go there and get a felony? They're probably telling them shit like this. What you going to be a NASCAR driver? Yeah, you going to be a NASCAR driver or what? Why are you going to Georgia for? Like, come on, man. Look, these kids hear all sorts of stuff, and coaches and people will use anything they can to try to put doubt in those kids' minds. You know what, man? You haven't been to the game and been on that official visit like those kids have been. And Tennessee is a different environment, and that's one thing that still makes it special. Like for a kid who's never been to a UT game and they show up and they see 60,000 people standing outside a stadium for hours, for hours. I don't know how many of you guys actually go to the games, but like the ball walk is one of the wildest things in college sports. Literally, you got to get there 3-4 hours before, standing on a piece of sidewalk, and 60,000 people just to wait for the team to walk past you for 5 minutes. Yep. And everybody's loving it. And it's when you come down that hill, you're standing at the top of Cumberland Avenue, and you look over there, you look down that hill, it is literally a sea of orange and white. That don't happen everywhere else, man. Georgia, you see Georgia try to imitate that?
Oh, my God.
Oh, man, that was the most poverty walk I've ever seen in my life, man.
It's not even close. And then look, like, guys like Christian Gass, who he had never been to a football game before. He went to, I think it was the Tennessee Tech game down there in Athens. That was his first college football game.
Wow.
So I think that he's maybe been there twice, or he tried to go there twice. He's supposed to be, I believe, in town this weekend. He's going to see a completely different world. He's going to be like, oh, my God, yeah, I'm locked into
different
this.
world. I hope they show him the Vol Navy, too, because that's one of the wildest. Like,
show him everything, man.
Like, my boss is from Syracuse, New York, and it like, we start talking about some cultural differences when he was down here and everything. He was like, man, you guys really love football, huh? And I'm like, oh, you ain't got no clue, bro. Like, it's like another thing down here. Like, it's a different world. And I start telling him about UT and the Vol Walk, and I said the Vol Navy, and he's like, what's the Vol Navy? I'm like, bro, there's only 2 stadiums in America. You can literally drive a boat over to it and tailgate at it and then go to the game. Like, it's just a different thing, man. Look, Neyland's going to impress a lot of kids this weekend, and with all the stuff they keep adding, like, have you seen some of those drone shows and stuff they're doing?
Oh,
like,
that is so dope. That's the dopest thing in the world, man.
It is wild, and it's going to be Checker Neyland, and that is. Yeah. Look at the background behind us, behind me and Bull here talking. What is it? It's Checkered Neyland, right?
Checkered Neyland.
That's what those kids are going to be seeing when they get there. There's going to be 100+ thousand people out there just losing their mind.
Hey, it's going to be loud, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, man. It's going to be wild. It's different, man. When a kid has never seen something like that before, like, one thing I remember in recruiting, a lot of the recruits they were at that game, the Tennessee-Alabama game, and I was at that game. And let me tell you something, man. That was a lifetime kind of experience. When you go and you see something like that, it leaves a mark. Like, it's just different. It's just different. Not that honestly, man, I had to go home and watch the game the next day because I couldn't see half of it. I didn't know who some of the guys were that were making the play. You know how it is? Like, it's different. The experience was the best money the best $600 I ever spent for tickets, and tickets were absurd. Whole Game Time app and all that crap, man. Like, you got to drop half a fortune just for an okay seat, much less some really good ones. You're looking at insane money, but it was an experience, man. And those kids, when they're there tomorrow, they're going to see an experience like they ain't seen. Yeah. So it's UT's just different when it comes to that.
Oh, it's 100% different.
It's next level.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry to ramble off there.
Oh, no, man. No, look, yeah. Everybody's feeling that for sure. Right here from Turkey Slammer says, Timmy's humble. I'm a shorty Nico.
Right on, buddy.
Okay. And then Turkey Slammer also says, is seldom buried on the depth chart or hurt. Feel like I haven't seen him this last week. Yeah, so I think that he's just buried on that depth chart. We're not rotating 3 backs like we have for the past couple of seasons. That was a question mark, Timmy G, coming into the year. Would Coach Sims rotate the same way that the last coach did, Coach Mack? And it doesn't seem like that's the case. But we need to do that. We need to. And my biggest thing is with the pass protection. Now I love.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, I love D Samp, and I also love Bishop, but they're smaller guys, and they are a liability protecting Nico. But we've got guys like Cam Selden, who was just mentioned, and we've also got Peyton Lewis, and we've got Keith. Those are the bigger body guys that have not seen the field. I think that, again, man, most skilled players, especially running back, is kind of a dime a dozen. I think that we could put some guys in there to run the football. Can you protect Nico too? Those, like, that would be who I would play maybe more. And I hate to say it that way, obviously. D Samp, one of the best backs in the entire country. He's playing lights out, and so is Bishop. But they got to pick it up in pass protection. I think that the biggest reason that they haven't been able to is because of their stature. But what was you about to say, Timmy G?
Well, what makes me wonder in this, I'm going to say kind of the same thing, but flip it a little differently, is you have to ask yourself, is that why we haven't seen Selden? Now, don't get me wrong. He was hurt and he was definitely dealing with an injury for a while. But also, is that why we haven't seen him recently? I mean, we've seen him returning kicks, right? So okay, we know he's good enough to play, but we're not seeing him in right now. Is that okay? Yeah, he can run the ball, but we're worried about him protecting Nico. And in the past, I think that's always what's kept guys on the sideline. So that makes me wonder: is pass protection a issue for them? I promise you, it probably is for Peyton, because he's a freshman, man. This is whole new, like that. That's a whole, like, that's not something high school running backs do, right?
No.
Not when you're a Peyton
Not
Lewis.
him.
When you're a Peyton Lewis, they hand you the ball and you go that way, right? That's the way that works. It's a whole different game now for him. And that, I think that's what determines who sees the field and who doesn't. We could be wrong. I mean, we don't know. It's nothing. I'm just speculating here, but maybe that's why we haven't seen him in there.
Yeah.
Is maybe he needs to work on his pass pro a little bit, or who knows? Maybe just because we haven't been able to put up a kind of lead to where they've been able to get people in there and do what we were doing versus, say, Kent State and NC State and teams like that. We'll see if we get some points on the board, build up a good lead in Florida. Will we see him in there? I hope so. And maybe if we do, then that'll, maybe we'll know more then.
Yeah. No, you know what? So that's an excellent way just to kind of like look at it, because I hadn't really thought about that. It never really crossed my mind that they would struggle. And I think maybe it's because, honestly, man, both of our starting running backs have done so poorly in blocking for Nico. It's hard to imagine that people could do worse. You know what I mean? Like they've been pretty bad, but that could be it. But we will need to find at least a third running back. Somebody, like, we got to give somebody some snaps. You know what I mean? Moving forward. Right here from the Invisible Redneck said, what's it going to take to get a live ball penalty in our favor?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question, man. Go ahead.
No, it's like that. That's like, what will it take? I mean, we saw Pierce getting held. We've seen all sorts of, like, I don't know, man. Like, let's just be honest. Reffing this year, and it seems like every year it just gets worse.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems to get worse. And, especially in the NFL. In the NFL, I'm like, man, are they throwing these games? Yeah. Like a couple of these things that I've seen, like with the Chiefs and stuff, I'm like, man, is the fix in on some of this? Like, what is going on?
Every level of football that I've watched. Yeah. And I mean, maybe I say this every year, but this seems like this has been the absolute worst. Every level, like from
pretty bad,
6-year-old nephew all the way up. Everybody, you know what I mean? Like my other nephew, he's playing high school ball. Everybody, all the refs, they've just been consistently terrible.
So, well, at least we haven't seen any like Virginia Tech style stuff against us, because let me tell you something, bro. That was crazy. Man. Like, how do you
so you know what? I actually think that they went back and got it right. But my issue is you got it wrong on the field. There was nothing in the video evidence that said
overturned it. So how are you going to do that?
Right? Yeah. So how are you that was my issue with it. But I think that maybe somebody called in, or like whatever, was like, look, this actually should have been called incomplete the whole time. And so that's why I'm not that upset about it. But I get what everyone else is saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how the heck do you overturn that? There's absolutely no evidence that says otherwise, or the contrary to what you called it on the field. Right here from Let's Go Guy says, like if our start's going to be out for the game this week, we got to give our young wide receivers a chance to see how they play against big SEC teams and see how they do for Tennessee next year in the future. I agree. I think that that's going to be really big for us, just to kind of build that depth, not just with our wide receivers, but like we just talked about, running backs, tight ends. Where the heck is Ethan Davis at? Maybe if you could, try to fit in some of those younger offensive linemen. He kind of brought up Jesse Perry. Is he a guy that maybe could come in and spell some of those guards? Sounds like he's more of a tackle body, but I mean, maybe they need a break sometimes too, right? So I think that we've got some guys that we could throw out there. This is probably not the week for it. I think we missed a lot of those opportunities because we're not really going to have an opportunity to do that probably for quite some time, unless this game just goes way in Tennessee's favor and we're up by like 50 points at halftime. Then maybe you kind of trot them out there. But yeah, I would love to see as many young players as possible get out there, get an opportunity to get some SEC experience. Right here from Sam Hargrave, he says, I think these O-line are giving it their all, but they are injured. Campbell is supposedly having to have his knee drained on a regular basis, and we need surgery. We need backups now. Exactly. So that's something that we were just talking about, Sam. We definitely need to get our backups in. I feel like I trust Larry Johnson and I trust Dane Davis. Let's try to speed through some more of these right here. Turkey Slammer says, remember to like the video. Thank you for that. Let's see what Ricky D says. If you can't block, you can't set any plays down the field up. Have to utilize the middle of the field. Yes, so that is true if it's on a quick play. Now, this is something else that you can run 3-step drop plays, which the ball gets out of your hand quick, but it goes down the field. You can run some fade routes. You could run some like bang eights, which that's not really a 3-step drop, but you can run some things like that actually does go vertically down the field. You can run some seams, things like that. But if you want to run digs, those take a very long time to get open because you're going down the field straight, then you're coming all the way back in. That probably takes the longest out of any other route, maybe outside of like some deep crossers and things like that, which I would love to see us try to implement, but I haven't brought it up yet because the offensive line is probably not going to be able to block long enough for us to run that type of stuff. But I think that it is levels to it. Let me try to get to some more of these. Hunter says, do we not run many short slants across the middle? To my dumb eye, seems like the passing game only attacks the middle. Okay, yeah. Hey, then we'll just talk about that. Exactly. So, yes, we don't do it as much. We have done it, though, especially earlier in the season. And really, the offensive numbers are just so much better whenever we actually do that. So, hopefully, it's something that they've noticed. And listen, they've got every type of analytics tool that you could think of to see all this stuff. So, I'm sure that they are, aware of it. We just need to start going back to it. I think that we will see more of that coming up this week. D. Taylor, what's going on? D says we had a bad game. We're still one of the best 5 teams in the country. I agree with that all day long. You know what I mean? Especially if we come out here and prove it coming up this Saturday. Let's go, guys, says, but Dylan Sampson is a beast at running back. I'm so glad to have him at running back. I agree with that. I think that he's a beast. Like I said, top 3 for me in the whole country. Ricky D says, our defense gets us the win. Excuse me. Go Big Orange. I think so, man. And really, hopefully, I said that I wasn't going to say it, but yes, defense is going to play well. I hope that the offense plays well, too. Let's go, guys, says Chaz Nimrod was a pretty good wide receiver last year with Joe. Good speed, good catching. Yeah, I think he's going to get his opportunities coming up here right now. Let's try to get to some more of these from Matt S. From Matt SS. What's going on? Matt says, sup, y'all, just got home. Nervous. Yeah, we've kind of heard from other people with that BVS. But
common theme tonight, Matt. Common theme. I said that's a common theme tonight, Matt. Yeah.
Yep. And right here, Matt is saying, I go G. Oh, what? Hold on.
No, that's a good one. That was safe to read.
You can it is okay. All right, safe. Yeah. All right. So UT Bad Gum says Georgia's NIL came with the Monopoly style get out of jail free card and a defense attorney. Also a same style Dodge Challenger Charger.
That's a good one, bro. One, man. That's a good one, bro. That was good.
Yeah. So everybody's laughing at that. Okay. Right here from Sam McCamey. I apologize if I pronounced your last name incorrect. Says players get NIL, that's good, but poor play, laziness, effort on the field. They should have money cut out of NIL deals for not giving their all. So I'm sure that there's probably no player that would, maybe some, but probably not like a higher caliber player that would sign any NIL contract that has that in it because they can go somewhere else. You know what I mean? So
and not sign that.
Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like they can go somewhere else that's going to have a much more friendly contract.
Not saying that I don't agree with the
sentiment. I agree with what you're saying 100%. Yeah, I think that it should be a little bit more like incentive based, like the NFL contracts are. And I don't know enough about the contracts to know how many of them are like that, but I do know that some of them are. They have some incentives, kind of similar to that. Let me get right here. Let's see. Okay. So it looks like just as far as all the questions, I might have caught up. And if you can, Timmy G, if you see anything, just let me know that I missed as far as questions. Let me see. This is one right here. So Matt SS is saying we need to run Nico. we paid for a dual threat quarterback, right? Yeah, 100%. I think that needs to happen. We had actually talked about that earlier, but that needs to come. 100%. It's just he's so much more dangerous. Like we're kind of bailing these defenses out by not letting him use his legs.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Matt SS also says that is if he's not fantastic in the pocket, of course. Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? Just let him do his thing. You know, like we got to kind of like start to let Nico take over. Detailer saying Cam is just as explosive as Samson, if not more. There's definitely something he's not doing right to be out of the rotation. So that's an excellent point. Just to kind of piggyback off of what Timmy G had said earlier. Yeah, it has to be something, right? So at least I'm hoping that it is something. Maybe, you know, I'm hoping that it's just not that maybe we're being a little bit absent-minded, which I doubt that that's the case, and we're just not getting Cam Seldon or whoever else in. I would just like to see us maybe dedicate one series at least every game to putting him out there, 1 to 2 series.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get better. It's the only way
That's
you're
the
going to
only
get
way.
better.
That's the only way.
But let's Cam's what? He's a sophomore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's a sophomore, right? Like normally, now don't get me like that's why Deshaun is so wild to come in as a freshman, and like if you could put Dylan Sampson's number on him, and you know what I mean, just from the TV, if they didn't show the face and you saw him run the ball, you could think they were the same guy. Like a lot of times, it takes a running back a couple years to learn to be patient and get, because once again, it's a different game from for a high school running back than it is for a college running back. A high school running backs, number one, they've got a pretty good O-line, and it's just a different world, man.
Oh yeah, totally different.
You know, like they're just out there running for touchdowns all the time. Like they don't have, not everybody has 4.4 speed. You know, it's a different world. They have to learn vision. They have to learn patience. It takes a while. Oh God, Jalen Wright, right?
Jalen Wright, yeah.
That was the biggest jump I saw for him in 2023. It's where he actually learned to be patient. You know what I mean? He actually learned to hesitate just a minute, see the hole, then explode. And man, that's an amazing skill. Sometimes some guys like Barry Sanders, he was just like a master of that. That dude was, man.
I mean, that is the highest level that it could probably
that's Rembrandt. That's Picasso right there, man.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Like that, you know, that you're talking about one of the greatest of all time, but you're talking about guys with vision and knowing when to explode and when not to explode, and just the art of making people miss and breaking ankles. Like not everybody can do that. And sometimes it just takes a couple of years for those guys to get into it. Once again, that's why I think Deshaun's so it's just freakish the way he's came in here his freshman year and for what he's been able to do so far. Cam has like the ceiling for that guy is insanely high.
It's crazy.
He's got a lot of speed. He's a big dude. Same thing with Peyton Lewis. Big dude with a lot of speed. I think he's actually faster than Cam.
So I think he might be the fastest player on the whole
team.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And he's what, 220 something?
Yeah, he's like 225. He's like 6'1", 225. Big old boy.
Yeah.
Big old dude. Yeah. So you know, I'm just gonna trust y'all with that, man, because I have, you know, I've been wondering where the heck is Cam Seldon at. I would love to see him. Let's go ahead and try to finish up with these chats, man, because we've been in here for over an hour and a half, almost an hour and 40 minutes. From UT Bad Gump says in bowl game he did well. Then beginning of the season, teams had to prepare for it. Now they aren't. Yes, the refs are trash. Bad, obvious missed calls right in front of them. Yeah, so I think maybe you're talking about Nico. Maybe. Not sure. Maybe you can clear that up for me. So right here, Green Wave says that reffing has been really bad again this year for sure. Yeah, reffing. I mean, yeah, it was bad last season too. Adam Fowler says, hey, Milton is finally – oh, man. I probably shouldn't have read that one. Let's get on to the next one right here from Let's Go Guy. Nico is still a young freshman, still have potential. He has a great arm, great accuracy, and dual threat. I hope Nico plays well and try to get Tennessee to the playoffs. Yeah, hopefully he does. I think that he can do it for sure. And then Let's Go Guy also says we mostly see Cam Seldon on special teams 100%. And I don't remember, I haven't even seen him on special teams that much either so far. Well, at least I haven't seen him.
Well, I think he's been there. Well, just recently he's been there. I think we
Yeah.
saw him obviously in the Arkansas game. But I mean, he was dealing with some injuries earlier on. So, I think
Yeah.
that's really been one of the biggest reasons we haven't seen him. That and just the situations with how the games played out. So,
Yeah.
I think we'll get to see more of him, and I hope we do.
Yeah, for sure. So right here from Matt SS says surprise selling isn't our great number 2 right now. You know what? I thought that he would be running back number 2. So I'm just as surprised as you are. UT Bad Gumps says Peyton Lewis is the fastest guy on the team. I think so too. I mean, he's a true track guy. And for him to have that type of size, that's very, very rare. Yep, there it is right there. Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth. And then let's get to this one right here. I got a great question for y'all. This one is from Let's Go Guy. He says, I got a great question for y'all. I am just wondering, why do we mostly get nighttime games? And do you think we will wear our dark and orange uniforms in any games? I think that is a very good question. And it seems like we've been getting all the primetime games. So now that the SEC has the contract with ABC and with ESPN, their primetime slot is at 7:30. Before with CBS, the primetime slot was at 3:30. So that's why we're getting more of those 7:30 games, because we were the primetime team in the SEC. Now that we lost to Arkansas, we're going to have games earlier. Like they already said that the Alabama game is going to be at 3:30, which I'm not too mad at. I mean, I would have much rather it have been at 7:30, right, Timmy G? Nighttime game, but I'm not too mad at it. Like, I'm tired of having to wait all day to watch these games. And also, just as far as with the dark mode, we will go dark mode at some point, probably this month. What game do you think that would be, Timmy G? Because we usually do it this month.
Yeah, well, number one, I think that's actually, like, the uniforms are picked by the players, right?
Yeah,
they're the ones who pick the uniforms and everything, and so that's a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kentucky, although I would really like to break out the dark mode for something special, maybe Alabama or something like that at home,
Yeah.
But that's up to the players. Like, we don't know. We hear about it, the week of is when they release the uniform combination. So, yeah. I know the players do love dark mode, though. It is coming. You're going to see it.
That is my favorite. I think that the only jersey that I like more than the football team's dark mode is the baseball teams, man. That baseball team black jersey, oh my goodness. I love that jersey so much. But I don't think that we're gonna do dark mode for the Alabama game. There's been a lot of people that said that's got to be just like the old school stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't, yeah. So we'll probably stick to that. But I'm with you. I would love to see it versus some of these better teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I look at it. But that is going to be it, y'all. Because we've been in here for about an hour and 45 minutes. But thank y'all so much for joining us. I think that it was a bunch of great questions. We will be back live coming up Saturday morning for our pregame show. We hope that everyone will join us for that. But before y'all leave, please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. Share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks. Peace.
Have a great one, guys.